Sheet Metal Loft in Onshape is now available for all Onshape users. Simply create two closed or open profiles and connect them together like any other loft would be done. In this case, I'm in context in a part studio, and I'm going to isolate the area that I want to work with. I have two sketches, one sketch for the top and one sketch for the bottom profile of the sheet metal loft. I can select them from the tree, or I can select them from the graphics individually. You can notice that we have the flat pattern view with score marks with a quartile tolerance of 1 millimeter, but this can be adjusted to get more fine score marks on your flat pattern. All right, let's go back to 1 millimeter quartile tolerance. Notice that you can also select where you want your ripped connection to be. We did not need to predefine this in the sketch. We can also select things with manual selection of each entity. If we wanted this to be an open profile, we can create a grouping of three edges on the top, and in this case, three on the bottom. And Onshape will calculate the flat pattern as we make our selections. Also note that other operations can now be created with this, like a flange, a common operation to mount this hopper to some other piece. All the normal sheet metal commands will work. You can work just like you normally would. Other types of features can also be added directly to the sheet metal geometry or the flat pattern, such as cuts, forms, and other features. You can also create lofted brackets with this method as well, a method that you might not normally approach sheet metal design with. So here, notice that I can select two open profiles, select the quartile tolerance of my choice, and create a very advanced bracket very quickly. But it doesn't stop here. We can also work in a multi-body fashion with sheet metal lofts. In this case, I'm going to mirror the entire part and offset it by make connector at 10 millimeters from the bottom, so we have two pieces. The sheet metal loft tool has an add function, which will allow you to connect one or more lofted bends together. So as I select two edges from two parts and decide to choose the add option, I can choose the parts that I want to merge with under the merge scope. And we have a flat pattern for the total combined piece. And in this total combined piece, we can create other geometry right on top of it. In this case, I will create a cut to receive an adapter in the center of this new face that was created by the combined sheet metal loft.
Introducing Onshape's new Surface Deviation tool, a faster, more intuitive way to compare surfaces and evaluate accuracy in your designs. This tool lets you instantly measure the minimum and maximum deviation between two surfaces, helping you verify fit, reveal imperfections, and ensure manufactured parts will match your intended geometry. With a color-mapped visualization, you can quickly identify areas that fall inside or outside your acceptable range. To help interpret the results, you can change the style, adjust limit filters, dim the color scale, display max and min locations, and more. Surface deviation builds on the familiar workflow of Onshape's curve deviation analysis, but now extends it across full surfaces, giving you clearer insights into tolerance-sensitive regions. No matter what the goal might be, this tool gives you precise visual feedback. We're excited to introduce a brand new visualization tool in Onshape, Reflection Analysis, to evaluate surfaces on your parts and assemblies. With reflection analysis, you can instantly switch your model into a special reflective mode. This makes it easy to spot subtle surface issues, highlight curvature transitions, and understand how your design interacts with light, all without changing the part's actual material. Utilize one of 11 environment map presets, I'll demonstrate several, to accentuate surface imperfections for clearer detection. And to keep your workflow fast, you can jump in and out of the mode using customizable keyboard shortcuts. Whether you're fine-tuning cosmetics, checking surface continuity, or validating overall quality, reflection analysis gives you a clearer look at your design.
Additional graphics preferences options have now been added, including ambient occlusion intensity as well as phantom tangent edge width. For ambient occlusion, this will provide you with a nice way of showing shadow effects on your design. If you want a clean design, you can just crank it way back down to 0. Phantom line tangent edge width can also be controlled. Just make sure you have that display mode turned on to see the result. Of course, everything looks great here in dark mode as well. The color of the phantom line can also be controlled to really make it stand out or not stand out. Finally, the width of mesh lines can now be controlled on imported mesh type objects. Touch support is now enabled on supported devices such as this Microsoft Surface tablet. Notice how you can interact with the display of the model just by using your fingers. Commands have always been able to select a single input selection with your finger, but rotation was never supported until now. One finger will rotate the model, two fingers staying in the similar distance will pan, and two fingers with the pinch motion will zoom in or out. Rotation can also be done by rotating two fingers on the screen. Selecting anywhere out in space or hitting the space bar on the keyboard will unselect any options, but you can, create a selection by holding down for a long moment with the two fingers and creating a selection box. This should work with any web browser on any touch-enabled device.
Onshape now enables you to define several defaults for new views created in your drawings. This can be defined at the template level to ensure all of your drawings use these new settings moving forward. This will save users a lot of time in creating drawings by eliminating the need to manually change view settings repeatedly, instead focusing on the unique needs of each view. When you create multiple numbered lists in a single note in Onshape, each item continues where the last number left off, even when there is separation between the individual lists. New for this release of Onshape is the ability to intermittently modify the numbered lists and manually override those values. This allows any item in the sequence to start from a different number, for instance, creating a completely new list starting from 1 again. You can even choose and manually enter a completely different numbering scheme for each list. This is useful when your documentation requires categorized or group note numbering for different operations and procedures. This enhancement makes it easier to follow company standards on drawings without having to create separate notes that contain separate lists.
Onshape Government Enterprise now includes thickness analysis, giving government and defense users powerful tools to validate manufacturability with confidence. This capability is a game changer for designing plastics, molds, and any part where consistent wall thickness is critical. Simply select your part, and Onshape automatically provisions the compute power needed to generate results. Choose between rolling ball thickness, the industry standard for evaluating material distribution, or ray thickness, a fast projection method that highlights areas outside your target range. Thickness analysis integrates seamlessly into your Onshape workflow. Inspect, adjust, and optimize designs for manufacturing efficiency today.
Cosmetic threads applied to shafts and hole features now will automatically propagate to a render studio. Simply insert Part Studio or Assembly in Render Studio, and the cosmetic threads are already there. And when applying other materials to them, they will adapt to the texture automatically. Now from the view cube, if you accidentally move your view, you can now get back to the previous view setting without having to go to a previously defined save view. Simply go to the view cube, pull down, and choose Previous View. Adjusting the field of view or focal length changes the scene perspective, and no longer does it change the camera or model size. The model remains roughly the same pixel size while the surrounding perspective shifts, creating the effect of a wider or narrower camera lens without scaling or repositioning the subject. Volume entities such as this applied smoke can now be moved using the transform function in Render Studio. Just pick the type, in this case a translate. I will go down in the y-axis a little bit, get it centered. By the way, you can also use rotate and scale. Here's rotate. I can rotate this volume entity just like any other object now in Render Studio. Onshape Render Studio Advanced now supports appearance masks, which is useful for creating selection sets and working with layers in other post-processing applications for rendered images. Here, simply choose Appearance Masks when performing the render, and Onshape will add the Beauty render, the original, as well as the Appearance Mask render as tabs in the bottom of your document or in your Downloads folder. Here is the original. Here is the high contrast appearances option. And here I am in Photoshop choosing to reduce the opacity of that layer.